Yo, what's up YouTube? It's your boy DHV, and today I'm gonna try to help you guys have a smooth start to the Chronicon endgame. Today, we're gonna look at one great starter build for each class that can carry you from level 30 to 100, as well as being able to farm low mythics with little to no upgrades, and of course, mid to higher with proper investment. Whether you're a player walking into Tinka's domain for the first time, someone new to the game but just wanting to steamroll through the axe to get to the endgame as fast as you can, or just a poor soul who's lost all their money and crowns on a recent death in hardcore, these builds should help make the leveling and early game much smoother for you. Now, this is just going to be more of a general overview, so I won't be going into super heavy detail on each one, but I will be doing more in-depth build guides in the future, so make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss those when they come out. Also, if this video gets 50 likes, I will do a part 2 with some less budget-friendly starter builds. I'm talking all out slapping high budget runes on level 1 and level 30 gear, so you definitely are not going to want to miss out on that. Also, as of a few days ago, the newest beta version of Chronicalc, the Chronicon build calculator, has been updated for the release version of the game. So from here out, all guides will include paste bin links for every build. And don't worry, I will have a mini video coming out soon going over Chronicalc and how to use it. When you launch the program, just click on the red exclamation mark, then hit build sharing, copy the link where it says load from paste bin, and you're good to go. Just keep in mind, currently, gear does not exist in Chronicalc, so it is just a passive tree and the mastery tree. Some of the nodes on the mastery tree I've noticed are a little funky, so just kind of use common sense to resolve what you might actually want somewhere. Like for example, the Warlock section is going to have reach tagged somewhere that you probably actually want companion damage, so just keep that in mind. Alright, before we get into the meat and potatoes here, I want to go over some rules for what I constitute as a starter build. Rule number 1. The first and most important thing here is going to be easy accessibility and low barrier to entry. All of the gearing for these builds must be able to be obtained through gambling with tarot or as drops below level 100. Which means no true legendaries and no runes. That said, if you do have access to them, they can be runed and crafted onto your gear to drastically improve the power and speed of your leveling experience from early to end game farming. Rule number 2, I'm limiting these builds to no more than 3 legendaries, and the rest of the gearing will be able to be filled in with uniques or rares. Though, really, if you're over level 30, I do highly recommend just taking rares off your loot filter. Maybe even uniques too, if you're already set with some uniques and you just want to sub in legendaries from here out, but that's all about your personal preference and current situation. Please note that despite this limitation that I'm implementing, I highly recommend gambling for a Tome of Knowledge at and after level 10. If you don't know, this is a legendary accessory that even without access to greater augments from endgame, can net you a ramping 200 to 300, even 400 experience bonus and 500 with greater augments. This is a fantastic item that I do recommend for every leveling build, as it is just such a generally useful item below level 100. I'm not going to include it in each guide because it would just get really repetitive, and I want to keep more options open just in case. But I will say that it is your best in slot for leveling. Rule number 3. All of these builds should be able to farm Mythic 1 to 3 on little to no gear. Basically, this is just my way of saying that these builds need to be good enough post level 100 to let you make some money and crafting materials to gamble the rest of your gear and get your augments going. Remember, these are not mid to late game builds. These are early builds with simple mechanics that give you a smooth introduction to the end game and help you get going with your gear chase, and can be upgraded with a variety of suitable true legendaries or base legendaries as they become available to you. Rule number 4. Okay, last thing I promise. All of these are going to be hardcore viable, meaning as long as you don't charge headfirst into several enormous bonus crit crowned packs like I do, you'll be fine. Alright. Let's get into what you came here for. The builds and the gearing. Just note, Filling out the rest of your gear slots on these builds is going to be simple and can be done with pretty much any rare, unique, or legendaries you come across. However, here are some notable uniques worth picking up or gambling for on any of them. The Heart of Fire unique amulet and the Golem's Heart accessory are incredibly valuable early on, as they both have a 35% chance on crit to cause an explosion dealing ethereal damage to monsters caught in the AoE. Ethereal damage is true damage, by the way, meaning nothing resists it, so it's just going to help your clear speed early. Helmets I recommend are Dragon Leech and Crown of the Fallen King. Both are good options, Crown being more offensive and Dragon Leech being more defensive. Lastly, Winged Striders are the only non-legendary boot I recommend for these builds, as the move speed offered by them is just too valuable to pass up. I just wanted to get these out of the way now, otherwise I would just be repeating myself a lot. So let's save us both the headache. This is going to be a longer video as is. Okay, first off, I want to talk about my favorite class, my baby, the Templar. Templar has a pretty decent variety of fun and strong sets that can be viable from level 30 to high endless dungeon tiers. But the build that we're going to take a look at today is going to be the 2-piece Cane set. The 2-piece bonus of this set gives the Flare passive a 100% chance to activate and adds the Blaze sub-passive's damage to your Holy Fire aura skill's damage. If you play Path of Exile, Holy Fire is more or less Chronicon's take on Righteous Fire, but it doesn't deal damage to you. The aura deals fire damage over time to enemies near the Templar passively, and when you activate it, it adds a burn to all of your attacks, dealing a % of the initial hit as damage over time as well. So what does this all mean? Well, with the help of the Zealot's Advanced Mastery doubling our move speed bonus from Flare at rank 41, we become an incredibly fast to dot build. And all you need to do to trigger your Flare is to use any fire skill. Though I personally recommend using Ember, as it has a low cooldown and decent AoE, and you'll be zooming through content, leaving a high damage trail of fire in your wake. For this setup, ideally you will be taking the Cane Sword and Chest Armor, as well as taking Tome of Condemnation in your offhand. This tome has a chance to trigger your Condemnation from the Burning Conviction passive line every time you use Ember, giving you some crazy clear speed on top of your insane movement speed from Flare. Another important mastery that you'll have right before Zealous Advance is the Righteous Fire node. That sounds familiar. Causing attack speed to increase the tick rate of your Holy Fire aura. All in all, this build is a lot of fun to level with, and with enough investment can carry you pretty far into high mythics and even high to mid endless. Don't expect to do that with uniques though, just so you know. So, originally, I was going to put the Plague Mage as my starter build for Warlock, but then I remembered the absolute unit that is the Infernal Demon build, and how early you can get it up and running. This build needs nothing more than the 2-piece Infernal Lord set to destroy Act content, as well as power level you from 30 onwards. However, since we are limiting ourselves to 3 legendaries and not 2, this only gets more disgusting. The Infernal Crown Helmet, our 3rd leveling item for Warlock. It grants you an additional Infernal Demon. So, with the 2-piece set, you do not even need to have Infernal Demon spec'd in your tree, but you now have 2 permanent demons. Oh, but wait, there's more. If you take Ritual of Summoning from the Lich tree, as well as the Empowered Summons node in Lich Mastery at Mastery rank 25, you will now have 3 permanent Infernal Demons. This is bar none one of the strongest and safest leveling builds on this list. Not to mention that if you already have some memory essence from a previous character or are early into your mythic farming, you can greater augment the helmet to grant you another demon. So for almost no investment, you have 4 permanent Infernal Demon ultimate summons, which might I remind you, you don't have spec'd on the tree, which means you are free to pick up any of the other Warlock ultimate skills, which of course I'm gonna have to recommend the Death Knight and the Reaper tree. It's just the best ult for survivability, giving you 30% damage reduction and stagger, as well as buffing your Bane skills. And your Bane skill for this build, you have the choice of Detonation if you want a knockback to help get enemies off of you, or Heat Wave if you want a short range cone attack. However, if you end up getting the 3-piece set, you do need to take Hell Pit. There are no exceptions. However, that is over the budget for this guide standard, and the build functions more than fine without it. If you are brand new to the game or new to hardcore, this is probably the build that I would recommend to you the most, as it's easy to play, easy to upgrade, super tanky and survivable since you can hide behind your demons and just let them lead the charge for you, and it's fun as hell. And it's not just for leveling. All of these builds, but especially this one, are really good in the late game. This build in the late game with proper investment can hit trillions easily. And that's without ramp, mind you. Have you ever been so angry, so filled with rage, that you wish you could walk up to someone and yell them to death? Then do I have a build for you. Meet the Frigid Roar Berserker, or as I like to call him, Angry Yellman. This is the Northern Rage set, and it is arguably one of the best endgame builds when fully min-maxed, given some minor changes to skills while utilizing endgame runes. However, this is not the greatest endless speed farmer. It is just a tribute. This build is the only one on this list that I will say does require using the 3-piece set bonus to be truly effective while leveling, so I won't be including any other legendaries here. Just the claw offhand, fist weapon, and chest are all you need to get by. Our damage here revolves around the Rage Release passive and the Frostborn trait, which upon reaching max rage will let out a burst of frost damage in an AoE around us and reset our rage to its minimum amount. To generate our rage quickly, we use the Frigid Roar ability, which is a shout skill that also deals frost damage in an AoE around us. Combined with our heritage bonuses, which are similar to the Templar's aura skills if you're not familiar, we become an incredibly tanky monster with lots of damage and crowd control. This will not be the fastest leveling character on the list, but it has so much damage and defensive value that it was hard for me to not include on this list of hardcore starter builds. Fair warning though, you may have some minor mana sustain issues a little early on, but this is quickly resolved by taking the Alleviating Release mastery at rank 40, giving you 400% increased health and mana regeneration after proccing Rage Release, making sustaining super easy. I highly recommend the Dragon Leech unique helmet that I mentioned earlier on this build, as well as any mana regen or mana on hit that you can find. Also keep in mind that Rage Release will have a slightly smaller AoE than Frigid Roar itself, so getting packs on top of you with Lightning Worm is going to grant you the best way to maximize your damage. Like I said, this is probably going to sound like a huge gear requirement to get this build up and running, but I promise you, it functions without Dragon Leech, and even so, Dragon Leech is actually a fairly common unique, so you should be able to gamble it really easily if you haven't found one already. And I hope you guys have an absolute blast shouting, "Busrota!" at your enemies until they die. It's a good time, I promise. All right, well, that looks like it's gonna be the end of the video. It's all the builds I have to cover today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe for more content coming soon. See you all again in the next video. And don't forget to come by the stream for more Chronicon content. I love you all, and bye-bye. Who's calling me at 5:45 in the morning? What is happening here? Discord? Why won't Discord open? Hello? Hello?
Please, I swear to God, if you do not do the Warden build in your starter build, I'm gonna scream. Don't you know that Warden is like the best character in the game? She has so many good builds, and all of their pet builds are super strong, and one of her builds is the best build in the game. How are you gonna not talk about my baby, the Warden?
Alright, fine, I'll do it. God! My recommended starter build for Warden is going to be to log into the game, go to select character, create new, select Templar Hardcore, and then go gamble the 2-piece cane. Fine! Jeez! I'll do it! God! Okay. Memes aside, Warden actually has a pretty solid leveling and early endgame experience. Warden basically goes like this. 1 to 10, feels terrible. 10 to 30, alright, we're getting somewhere. And then 30 to 100 is just godlike. The build I'm going to recommend to you to get you rolling on Warden is going to be the 2-piece Windcaller helmet and chest combined with the legendary bow, the Sentry. Windcaller causes all of your physical hits to create small tornadoes attached to enemies. After death, these tornadoes will start to actively seek out other enemies as well as other tornadoes. They will then start to combine together to form much larger tornadoes that will continue to chase down packs of enemies incredibly aggressively, as well as pick up more tornadoes along the way, causing the new giant ones to deal increasingly more damage for each stack. And if I'm not mistaken, each additional stack will refresh the duration of the large one once they join together. I've had these tornadoes end up clearing a screen or two away from my initial location, and it is actually insane how fast you can clear anomalies early on. And the reason we take Sentry as our weapon, of course, is because at the soft cap for augments, it gives up to 80% increased attack speed to our archery skills. This, combined with our 2 main damage abilities in Rapid Shot, which fires at double our attack speed on its own, by the way, and multi-shot, which fires multiple arrows on a short cooldown with a 25% chance to double cast, we rack up stacks of tornadoes incredibly fast. And since we attack so fast, we'll also be making use of the splinters and the razor tips passives in the Wind Ranger tree to help get our initial kills to start snowballing our tornado. To aid our survivability, we pick up Tree End Guard to taunt mobs and the Life Roots Mastery in Wind Archer at rank 25 to pass off 15% of our damage taken to the Tree End. We'll also be grabbing Alpha Wolf from the Winter Herald tree for stuns, a crit chance aura, and a damage buff to us, as well as the rank 25 Wolf Mother node in the Winter Herald Mastery to give us a nice cheat death on a 3-minute cooldown. You could also sub this for Keeper Safe to allow our wolves to taunt enemies for us too. But personally, I would say take the cheat death. It's a cheat death. You die, you respawn. Duh. As much as I like to dump on Warden, she actually has a really solid early to early endgame setup with this build, and it does scale decently well. If you really want to scratch that godlike marksman itch, this build could be the one for you. Just please stack evasion on top of your normal defensive layers with any Warden build, because she can be super squishy when compared to the other classes. But especially based on my recent experience, if you can get up to like 50 evasion by endgame, you're gonna be fine and you're hardly ever gonna take damage, so it's not that bad. Okay, wow. This has been a really long script, so I'm assuming it's gonna end up being a pretty long video. I don't know, because I'm in pre-edit, right? Anyway, I really hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a ton of fun trying out these builds. These are not the end-all be-all, and any set can be viable for leveling to some degree. These might not even be the actual best starter builds out there. These are just my personal preferences and recommendations to get to level 100 and start farming low mythics. As I said earlier, Chronicalc links for all the builds mentioned are in the description. All of the builds will be spec'd to level 100, but have plenty of room for you to tweak and customize the builds to your preference. Everything in this game just kind of comes down to a little min-max and a little bit of playstyle. So feel free to experiment and make some changes as you see fit to fit your play better. So, have you played any of these builds already, or have one for me to include in another guide? Let me know down in the comments, and don't forget, I stream just about every day on Twitch, and our community and I love to answer questions and help you learn the game better. We actually just finished a huge sub goal challenge where for hitting 60 subs, I would play nothing but Warden until I could get her to endless 50, which beats my Templar's record. I'm kind of mad about it, but it was a really fun time, and I got to know Warden a lot better. I'm still gonna dump on her because I think that she's just kind of bad without companions, but her companion builds are actually pretty solid. And thank you guys so much for watching. Good luck in your anomalies and dungeons. Don't die, and I'll see you in the next one. Love you, and bye-bye.